Now, the city of Detroit and the people of the city of Detroit played a very key role in winning rights for working people and for black people and other people of color in this country. The struggles that took place around the recognition of the United Auto Workers during the 1930s and 1940s brought about the 8-hour day. They brought about fairly decent working conditions for ordinary people in this country. That's why people's living standards went up. It came out of a struggle. It wasn't given to us by these bankers and by these industrialists who are meeting right now down at the Renaissance Center. It came out of the blood, sweat, and tears of working people and black people and other people of color in this country. Those were the ones who marched, who sat in, who struggled, who fought, who went to jail, who died for us to gain the rights that we have today. And it's quite interesting that today they're telling us that we have to sacrifice. That we have to sacrifice because these people have made bad decisions in ripping us off. No, we're tired of sacrificing. Let them sacrifice. The only sacrifice we want to talk about is the sacrifice that it takes to build efforts like the People's Summit, the sacrifice that it takes to build the organizations that we are part of, and the sacrifice that it takes to move our struggle forward towards freedom, justice, and liberation. And that's what we have to fight for. Thank you so much. And of course, we're going to have our dinner very soon. But I also want to recognize some of the other people here who have been involved in organizing this event. We want to talk about some of the people who have been heavily involved in this event. The Moratorium Now Coalition has been organizing now for about a year and a half. And it started out through the efforts of the Michigan Emergency Committee Against War and Injustice, MCOWI, which was an anti-war, anti-imperialist organization. Yet we saw that the military budget, the Pentagon budget, had actually created conditions that were draining the cities, that were draining the rural areas in this country. Teachers were being laid off. Social workers were being laid off. There were cutbacks in food stamps. There was cutbacks in other public services. And where was this money going? A lot of the money was going to finance these illegal wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then, of course, we had the so-called subprime mortgage mess, or the real estate bubble. But it just wasn't a real estate bubble. It had international implications, because a lot of these financial institutions and banks had underwritten, had packaged, and resold the mortgages that were sold to working people in this country. And when these mortgages went bad, and when these loans went bad, it had an astronomical effect on the conditions, particularly right here in the city of Detroit, but in other cities throughout the country. And then we started seeing the runs on the banks, the closing of the banks, and bankruptcy of leading financial institutions in this country. Then, of course, we saw the unemployment rate escalate. And over the last year and a half, there's been nearly 5 million jobs lost in the United States of America. 5 million jobs. So we have a mighty struggle ahead of us, brothers and sisters. They're predicting that by the end of this year, 2 million more people would have gone into foreclosure, and 2 million more people would have lost their jobs right here in the U.S. They're talking about unemployment rates in the state of Michigan that may go up to as high as 25%. That's like the Great Depression, brothers and sisters. And what is the response of the corporate community? What is the response of the federal government? The response has been to give trillions of dollars to the bankers and the industrialists and to give us nothing. So we have to stop that. That's why we say bail out the people, not the banks. So thank you once again, and stay with us. We still have more activities coming up this evening, tomorrow, and we'll be closing down on Wednesday. Thank you so much. Power to the people. Power to the people.